Most of the ruined sites visited in the aftermath of Operation Babylon by Axis forces were pretty much emptied of all Vril artifacts or traces of VK. But close study by archaeological specialists of the Blutkreuzkorps pointed to coordinates deep in the desert, some 5 kilometers southwest of Samawa, in a place called Al-Mutana. Aerial reconnaissance of the area gave almost nothing, but for a small outpost at the edge of the Dune Sea. Nicknamed Fort Chabrol by their current occupants, it is held by a small group of the French Foreign Legion. Perhaps outpost is the wrong word. A few abandoned houses in ruins and some centuries-old walls made from sand bricks, but a few important palm trees around a deep well. Only one house, the largest near the center of the village, had a cellar made of what seemed to be stone, with strange carvings, which made the men uneasy. This is where the FFL stockpiled much of their ammunition. Coordinating their efforts, the Blutkreuzkorps operatives in the field were almost certain this was the place they had been looking for. 3 different sites were pointing in this direction. There were no doubts left. For the Axis ground forces, getting there was still a problem. Much of the Neue Deutsches Afrika Korps units were tied up by Allied forces or were too far north or east to make it far enough. They would need to cross almost the whole country to get there, and no one wanted to reveal this whole operation's ultimate goal without being sure to take and keep it. The best solution would come from the air. With a small-scale paratroop operation organized by the Luftwaffe, the Axis would take control of the outpost quietly and hold it before Allied or SSU forces lurking around could react. Only then was Operation Condor put into motion. This is Dust War Journals episode 11, and my name is Johannes, also known on the internet as Frankie. And with me today is...
Ludde. Hi there.
And Magnus, known as Magoff or Magwiz on the forum.
And Operation Condor is upon us. How do you feel about this? It feels like it's been years in the making.
Yes,
almost.
Waited a long time now for next expansion.
Yeah, and this is a good one, I think. We're going to go into a lot of detail. We have an advanced copy of the book that we're going to go through and have a thorough review of. And that's very exciting. But before we go into all of that, do we have any kind of personal hobby news for ourselves? Anyone had time to do much during the summer?
Well, I've been quite busy actually during the last month. We ran tournament. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later. And I've also continued on the terrain. I told you, I don't know, a couple of episodes earlier, I'm making like combined kit from MDF and some other stuff. And it's coming along. It's not going very fast, but I'm at the moment doing details actually. I've done most of the groundwork, so to say.
Nice. Me, for myself, has not been that busy. I've been too much regular holidays, and also some started some renovation of my house. So,
right. So you're also building, but in a different scale.
I've changed scale for this month, unfortunately.
Oh, 1-to-1, that's easy, man.
Oh yeah, I know. But I've got that next Hummer I've started on yesterday evening, and I'm thinking that perhaps after you guys leave today, I will probably just sit down in a comfortable chair, watch some football, and build some Humbers. So that could be a nice way.
Yeah, very nice. I also started on my Humbers, but I have a long way to go. And I think I actually want to wait until the official kind of conversion kit comes before I finish them up. We'll see. That's my plan at the moment, at least. And like you said, Ludwig, it's been almost the same for me. Vacation, we're in the process of moving, me and my wife, so we're starting to put a lot of stuff at home into boxes, so that kind of eats up the hobby time as well, and space. So, well, not that much for me in the coming month, I think.
I remember now that I've actually made one drastic thing this last couple of weeks. I've how do you say it? I've destroyed my old gaming table. Yes, I wrecked it and I thrown it away because it was too heavy.
The one built from an old door?
Yeah, 2 old doors. That was too heavy. So I'm actually, as soon as I get some free time from the renovation, I will start building my new gaming table.
Ooh, exciting.
Made from 3 old doors.
Yes! And an ogre or something. No, I'm thinking something more lightweighted and I don't know if this is any interest for anyone, but actually my daughter has started to get kind of an interest in table tennis. So I'm thinking of how can I build it to use it both as a table tennis and board and also as a gaming hobby board, perhaps switching it around or something.
Right.
We will see what happens, but at least that was at least some part of hobby gaming.
Very nice. Talking about the game, there's been quite a lot of news recently, a lot of new releases. We're going to talk about those, the new released units, because they're part of the Operation Condor expansion. So we're going to talk about them when we get to them in the book, basically. But more exciting, I think, is that the 2 novels that's been published before, Blood and Thunder and Sverograd Winterchild, they have both now been released as ebooks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people have asked for this, and I think it's great. So it's really, really good that people can finally get a hold of them, because that was the main problem.
It seems like a no-brainer that they just did that, because why should only a few people get to read them? It's commercialized, it's promotion, it's good for the game in all aspects. So
Right, so this is ebooks. You download PDF or something?
Yeah, exactly. And well, you can kind of argue the thing about that. I understand why they did the PDF, because it's simple. I think it's a bit more secure from piracy. I don't exactly know the technical details. I think some people that have an e-reader would prefer another format, because then they can reformat kind of the length of the lines, change fonts and stuff like that. That makes it easier, but it's a lot better than nothing.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, but is it possible to get it as hard copy? Is it print on demand?
Not at the moment, but I think we did have some hints on Facebook that's coming.
Right.
It's going to be a print on demand service, I think, at some point.
But shouldn't the right place be able to print it for you? Or you mean it's locked so you can't print it or something?
It's possible. I'm not sure how they've done it with that. It might be possible. I know that because I bought them. So I know that the PDF files are watermarked, so your name is included on each page.
Yeah.
So it's traceable that way.
But then it would be totally fine if you... I wouldn't mind if my name was printed on the pages of my books. I forget things all the time, so...
Of course. If you just print it for yourself, then I think, that should be fine.
But then you should be able to go somewhere and they should be able to print it for you if you want to invest in it. I don't know if you want to put that amount of money, but...
Like digital is fine, but I'm kind of old school. I like the real book, and it looks nice on the shelf and everything. So
I have both the books, so I'm 100% with you. I hated to have the PDF files. I love it that you have the possibilities when it comes to the rule books and stuff like that, and the cards and everything. But if I'm using something, then I have to have it in paper. Perhaps that's also now I'm going before I'm going a little bit too quick here now in the schedule, but that's why I haven't read too much of the PDF that we have. I've just flipped through it with the PDF of the Condor that we have received to have a look at, just to get a feel of it more for my own personal sake, because I want that special feeling when
you want the experience and the smell of it.
Yes.
And I get it. I totally get it.
As soon as Marek has Condor to order, I will order it from him, and then when it arrives, me and it will have a special time together.
Me time.
Yes. We will hide away under a blanket somewhere with a flashlight and just sit and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be soon, because the kind of street date for the expansion is, if I remember correctly, August 16th. So it's just next week from when we're recording this. And that coincides with the start of GenCon in the US. There's a lot of stuff coming out there. We had a preview of the kind of stuff they're going to sell there. So you have the Operation Condor book, we have the new Dodge trucks, we have the new starter box for the PLA, for the SSU. What's really interesting is for the Dodge trucks, they're of course going to be available in the 3 different formats that we're used to, the primed, the premium and the model kits. What's new is that the primed box will have 3 different weapon options inside it, just like the model kit version. So this, I know some people have kind of made fun. What are you talking about new? That's how it was when the game started. Yeah, and it went away, and now it's back again. So, I can't really see this as a bad thing in any way. I can understand why they made that decision at the time, because it kind of made a short-term business sense, and that's kind of what the game needed at the moment, probably, to kind of keep floating and keep relevant. And this I see as a very, very good sign, because if they feel that they can eat into their profit margin by putting in extra sprues in the box, that means that the game is doing well.
Yeah.
And they want people to have that good experience and just make the game grow organically. So it's a more long-term investment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think when they changed it to only include like 1 option or possibly 2 in some rare cases, that was, I think, a very short-term gain, basically. And I think this is awesome that they are getting all the not all the options, but like 3 options in 1 box.
It's super good, and it can only mean that it's going good for the studio, because what I remember, people from the studio were telling us, or at least back then privately, that it wasn't possible for them in any way to do the several weapon options. So to me, I'm actually very surprised that they could go to this option now.
Yeah.
Because to me, that have many weapons in one weapon options in 1 box, that was totally dead, as I understood it. And I'm very glad that I was wrong, because
and it's not from what we've heard, at least, this is not just a one-off either. This will be the standard for all the new vehicles coming out, and that's marvelous. I really like it.
Definitely. And as I also now, as I understand it, there will be no conversion kits for the Humber. So then these trucks will solve that problem, as I've been on to the last time as well, because you get that extra weapon. If you don't make only phaser trucks, of course, then you don't have the extra phaser. But the trucks will be the conversion kits for the Humbers. So, or at least that's, I guess, how you're going to do it. If you want to do the Humber, you just choose one of the trucks that you don't do to a phaser truck, and then you use those spare parts to do your Humber.
All right.
But that's just my thoughts.
So it's supposed to be like 2 different boxes of
2 out of 3
with the 3 in each. So
because
6 different in total.
Yeah, because that's what we've heard, that there are going to be 6 different variations of the Dodge trucks.
But please help me to count out this, because it was the mortar truck, it's the phaser truck, it's the HQ truck, that's 3. Then it's the transportation truck.
Yeah.
But then I'm losing it. Is it because the recoilless one is the phaser truck? So it's not a special recoil. No, it's one with only machine guns, but isn't that the transportation truck?
I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see.
Perhaps they have tricked us, so they have 2 they haven't shown us. So that's 2 out there in the dark.
Hiding out in the desert, behind a dune.
I've been counting, and I've been trying to watch the pictures, and perhaps I'm just fucking stupid as always. But no matter how I look at these pictures that I produced, I don't see the I thought I got to 5 one time, but I still didn't find the 6th one.
But then you woke up.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, a sandstorm or something.
Yeah. Another very interesting kind of preview that came out in the Facebook thread about the GenCon kind of new product. was the stat card for a new commissar for the PLA faction for the SSU.
New
Commissar
hero.
Poon. Yeah, he's a commissar and a hero.
Yeah, and that's of course fucks up the rules
No,
completely.
no, absolutely not.
Why?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and it makes total sense.
Okay.
The fact that he's a hero means that no other hero can join the crew, the unit. So he joins the unit as a commissar and as a hero. So no other heroes or commissars can join it. That's how it works. And the kind of upshot of that is that if that unit is killed and then somehow brought back through reserves or something, he gets brought back as well because he's a commissar.
Well, and I don't
But
think
he's a
that's
hero
supposed
and
to
can't be brought back.
Yeah.
So that's probably
it is at
conflicting
least.
rules.
You need a few. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
clarification on this because
That's how
It's
I read it
contradicting.
anyway. So
Yeah, of
we'll
course.
have to wait and see, of course. But it's interesting. And of course, this is just me reading the card from how the rules are at the moment, and we don't know if they're going to change some specific kind of wordings to make this guy work in a specific way. We don't know.
if he is allowed to be brought back, I want some backstory that he's somehow Chinese mystic something or something like that. That he's like or I don't know if he's.
It's part of a family with the 12 brothers
Yes.
or something.
Oh, yeah. I want some mystification on why this hero all of a sudden is.
Sorry, but since I'm not hanging out on Facebook, was there some kind of problems discussed or something with it?
Well, not that much, to be honest. Just the fact that if he's a hero and a commissar, does that mean that no other heroes can join the unit or not? It's
Or another commissar, but because
Yeah.
I can see, I don't see that he should be able to be brought back actually, but I wouldn't mind if you put another commissar in that group, because I feel like then he's a hero, and I mean that for some trumps the commissar bit. So,
But then, why does he have the commissar rule then? If
Well-
another commissar can join it, then the commissar rule doesn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Except gives him brave. Then units have the brave skill.
No, the commissar skill tells you that you have to join him with the unit.
Yeah.
He cannot run around.
That's
by
true.
himself
So it's
from
kind of
start.
so it's kind of the opposite of the loner skill.
yeah. That's so. Yeah,
Yeah.
He that's true. He
But,
can be-
I mean,
he always has to be attached.
In that respect, I don't really see any conflict at all. He has to join a unit from at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And
So
you
it's-
cannot put another commissar or another hero in that unit.
So it's just
and that's fine.
the reserve thing then.
Yeah, then the reserve thing, and it's basically a rules priority thing. And usually, I'm not 100% sure on this, but usually when one rule says you can do this and one rule says you can't do that, the rules that say that you can't do it has priority.
Trump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's for the most
And
part.
that would
So-
make sense
Yeah.
because that's how it works for most, and it would give a big advantage to bringing back a unit with a 4 health commissar.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many points was this guy?
4.
4 points. Yeah, it's fairly cheap as well. So
Yeah.
But
I
it's
think-
no, yeah, but he's the demo charges expert, and
Yeah.
he has a 3/5 move. So
yeah, it's
with the new-
definitely it sounds too good to
Yeah,
be able
and
to bring him
fighting
back.
spirit.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's going to be
so-
attached to the new Chinese, Chinese, so to
Cool.
speak.
Yeah.
And they, as we understand it, has a bigger, probably have the 3/5 move because they are
Solid one, yeah.
Yeah. So he will probably just match right up to one of those Chinese, and then they will run 5, and he will. He had charge, I think.
No, fighting
didn't.
spirit.
Just fighting spirit was the thing, yes, and then demo charges. But you
sounds-
saw him as like an assault guy or someone just
Yeah.
run forth to the tank and boom, boom.
Yeah.
That makes me also speculate, will the new Chinese have demo charges? You know, the old one had the grenades in the first version, and then in the second version they lost the grenades, even though the models have the grenades on them.
Oh yeah.
So now, will they get it, or at least will the Chinese get the Chinese guns? Grenades back there, sorry. I couldn't help myself.
The non-volunteer
Yes,
guys.
yeah, they get grenades. Okay, you're volunteering, no grenades. You're not volunteering, you get the grenade.
Right. No, but it sounds pretty cool actually.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to
I'm
be an
looking
expensive
forward
month.
to killing him.
Yeah. Because you will have to have at least one of those starters, because they are the new fraction, at least for me.
Yeah.
But the Chinese ones, I think I only need one fraction starter set, and you need that new hero. He's too funny.
Yeah, but this guy, the Commissar guy, he's not in the starter.
No, he's a single one.
Yeah.
At least what it seemed like in the Gen.
Yeah, I think he might. We don't really know what the kind of business model for him is. If it might be kind of like a single, or single box, like convention special, because usually they don't sell single heroes otherwise.
Exactly.
So maybe he's like the first of a trio, because it's gonna be a pack of 3 heroes.
Because in the starter, it's these twins we've seen before.
Yeah, the twins are in the starter. Yes.
Yeah. And those are just too cool. So you need.
I can't wait to see the rules for them.
Right. What's next?
The book itself, of course, the Operation Condor expansion, 128 pages. Also including the new advanced rules for gridless that we've seen previewed before, and that's a separate kind of booklet with 16 pages for that. So going back and talk a little bit about that later. But like I said, 128 pages. It's crammed with stuff, this book. We got 3 short stories by Andy Chambers, the same guy who wrote the Winter Child book. We also have a history of the Luftwaffe. We have a kind of setup story for Operation Condor itself, which you heard a little excerpt from at the start of the show. And all of this, it's more or less the first third of the book is just all fluff, all background information, all kind of this kind of background stuff. And yeah, it's wonderful, basically.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, like you said, Ludde, you did not read all the short stories and everything. I did, and actually, I don't know. From the top of my head, I would say that the short stories are my favorite part, actually. I really enjoyed them. They are really good.
Yeah, those are the ones that you really look forward to, at least from my perspective as well, because most of the cards and the stats and the units you had already seen. You knew that were going to be. It's like this is more like. Now I don't want to be sounding too bad here, but it's like when GV were compiling their White Dwarfs, and they were coming out with a special. Okay, now this special thing, they had it years way back. They had produced so much thing in the White Dwarf, so they had to squish it to a booklet and then release that. Yeah. So you like, okay, now I have everything. I don't have, if I didn't buy all the 52 magazines or something,
so it's just the rules stuff.
Yeah, the more interesting stuff where I could buy like. But so, I mean, it's beautifully done. Every page feels like you get something worth your while, and I love the way how they've done it. So they have a page for every unit, for instance. So
yeah, there's a lot of information about all the units. It's not just the stats. It's kind of how the unit was used in the fictional history. It's a little box about how to use it in the game tactically. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I love it, because also their little tactics hints, perhaps they don't give me so much as tips as a general, but they give me more of an understanding how did they think when they did this for the game. And that gives me, so I love the tactical bits, because that gives me an insight in the working minds of the studio guys, Olivier and stuff, and others. I mean, and it's just, well, it's a wonderful little thing. I haven't read everything, so I hope there's not a lot of things that, like in the version 3 or something like that, it was bad wording in some rules, and I hope it's not misprints, not misspelling and stuff like that. I hope they have done a better work through with this one, because I know, well, you know, like the Babylon book, I shouldn't be too evil now, but it is a lot of parts of it you almost had to go in with a marker and erase or write your own wordings, just so that to me, Babylon book is almost more like eye candy than a game book.
Yeah, I mean, I read through the whole of Condor, and I would say it's okay at least. There are some typos, and I don't know. I'm one of those guys that kind of see those things.
Yeah,
and
you're really good at finding them. So
yeah.
But is there anything in it that could be like give you problems with someone misunderstanding?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's I found like I can't remember which one, but it was one or two different abilities that are occurring on several places. Several different units have this whatever it was, and it was the exact same mistake. So it's a copy paste. The first one had a small misspell, and then it got copy pasted on several places in the book. So
shit. Okay,
yeah, but it's not that bad. Nothing that ruins it.
Good.
And when we're talking about rules-wise, so people might be wondering what is rules-wise in this book. Well, first of all, it's all the stats for all of the Luftwaffe. Everything we've seen so far, and a few things that have not been released yet. So this is probably everything that's planned, at least for the Luftwaffe. So this is it. This is the Luftwaffe faction. There's also a few, I think there's 2 units each for the SSU and for the Allies. So that's not very much for that. But we've already known for quite a while that this book is the Luftwaffe book.
Yeah.
Basically. So that's what you get. You get the stats for the Luftwaffe units. You also get 5 new platoons for the Luftwaffe, which we're going to talk about later. And you also get 3 new scenarios that are very kind of heavily tied into the story of Operation Condor itself, which I really like. And we're going to talk a bit about that later on.
But it's an interesting story, this. I mean, in Babylon it was like a big story-wise. Everyone is fighting everywhere. This is much more like zoomed in, narrowed in on a specific place.
Yeah.
Where the basically the Luftwaffe, they drop a lot of people and machines there to accomplish something.
Yeah.
But that sounds smart as well, because first, when you open up this new theater, the African theater or the Middle East theater, whatever you want to call it, first off, you have to give the broad strokes, and then you can like pinpoint this and that and this and that. So I think they're doing it just the right way.
Yeah.
To my
it's nice.
So let's go in and talk about the new units that we haven't talked about before. And there's a kind of mix of things that's been released since our last episode and some things that have not been released as yet. And we're going to go through them in the same order they appear in the book. First of all, we have 3 new support weapons for the Luftwaffe. The Rocket Launcher Squad, the Anti-Tank Squad, and the Laser Gun Squad. So we've seen images of these for quite a while now, and now we finally get the stat card for them. So these are probably going to be released in the very near future, I guess. So the Rocket Launcher Squad, support weapon with, a rocket launcher, range 10. It's a grenade weapon, very, very effective against infantry. It's 7 points, it got airdrop.
Yeah, it sounds pretty, I don't know, standard.
Yeah. The Anti-Tank Squad, more anti-tank focused, of course. This is the long-barreled version. So this is definitely more anti-tank focused, so you can definitely drop like a Vehicle 3 easily with this. You can make a dent in everything up to Vehicle 7 without the problem.
The range of it is?
The range is 12.
12.
And 6 points.
And the other one had the range of 8 or?
10.
10.
So they are pretty far for being support weapons. Because usually you need to have a walker or something else to get further compared to infantry, I mean.
Yeah, but I mean they are airborne, so you will drop them wherever they are needed. So they don't really need that far range on the guns anyway.
No, but you just
It depends very much on the map on the scenario, because if you can afford to drop them a while back, then of course you do.
Yeah,
I
sure.
feel.
But 10 and 12, I mean, what's the difference between these two units? One is cheaper. What is more difference with them? Because
The first one is
It's a grenade. It's
it's grenade. So it's
anti-infantry, basically. Blast, grenade rule.
and the other one just has blast.
yes.
Yeah, blast, but no grenade rule. So it's like a standard anti-tank gun, basically.
Yeah.
So slightly different, slightly.
But if I get 2 more in range and I can dent a tank more, that seems like and 1 point less. I don't know. It just seems like the anti-tank squad is the obvious one. Of course, you can if you fight a lot of infantry heavy list, you want that no cover save. But
I would say it really depends on what you focus on with your Luftwaffe army. And of course depends on what you usually play against. I could agree, but at the same time, the grenade one is actually pretty good against infantry, and if you take that for just 1 point more, then you don't have maybe you can skip some other unit, one of the others with machine guns and stuff, and take some Walker or whatever.
That could be a possibility, perhaps.
Let something else handle anti-tank firepower.
But I just would have wanted, perhaps, if there were even two more in range difference. So it's been 14 for the anti-tank. Then you get more of the difference, and it's more of should I do this?
They are fairly similar, but still
more interesting question maybe if you go to the laser gun version of this. It's 9 points, and it's a relatively weak laser. Also range 10, but the laser on this ranges from 8 on vehicle 1 to 2 dice on vehicle 7. So I think it's one of the weaker lasers we've seen in the game actually so far. So 9 points for this seems, compared to the Walkers, I'm not sure. Does it seem expensive?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think that is kind of... I'm not going to say all, but I'm going to say most of the laser weapons actually in version 3 of the game. My opinion is that they are too expensive many times. And this one I think is also too expensive. It's not bad, but I don't know.
You don't get attracted by it.
No, I don't. I don't know, maybe instead of 9 I would probably price it something like 7, I guess. Possibly 8, but not 9. That's too much.
Because then you have, if that is 7 points, that is just 1 point more than the anti-tank version, and that kind of makes sense. It depends on what you're facing, because the anti-tank version is, I would say, slightly better versus heavy tanks than the laser version. Because it's more consistent. There's much more variance in the laser variant.
That's exactly how I feel. They are fairly similar, so their points should be fairly similar. But this is too big of a difference.
But the thing is that the anti-tank only has 1 die.
That's true.
It's 66% chance you're missing. While the other one, you get that chance. You always, with the lasers, you're always certain that you hit something. So you start
not with 2 dice. On a vehicle 7.
No, not on 2 dice, but it's a double on the in that case
it's a trade-off. You have a better chance of doing something.
And that's a good point, because more dice with less damage per dice is almost always better in this game.
Because but that's exactly why I mean it can be more expensive than the anti-tank gun, but still 9 point is
I don't know the ratio on the
it's
points
too
and
much.
stuff, but I mean, just to defend the lasers, I like having lasers, at least if I can, because if you hit with the laser, you always have something else that can finish the unit off. While if you have the anti-tank gun, especially as Russians, you usually just have one dice when you shoot with the big guns, and I mean, and you miss, and you miss, and you miss, and sometimes you hit, but you still don't kill them, and then what you have left doesn't finish the shit off. So, but with, I mean.
I get what you're saying, and I think that in version 2, some of the laser guns, Wotan maybe, was a bit overpowered, especially in certain combinations, and I think that now in version 3, some of the lasers are like suffering from that. So, that's just my opinion anyway. Okay, so. Moving on.
Yeah, next unit, the Fallschirmjäger Observer Squad. So this, standard Observer Squad, the 2 guys. What's interesting about this unit, I think, is partly the points cost. At 4 points, they are definitely the most expensive Observer Squad in the game. But they also have a heavy assault rifle each, which is very interesting.
So, and they still have airdrop.
Yeah. So this is a very, very cheap kind of spam unit, basically, if you want to do it like that.
Yeah, you drop them, and if they shoot, they can do damage against an HQ that is hiding or something like that. Oh, yeah, this could annoy some people. I know. To me, I just thought 4 points, of course, because you can drop these at the perfect place where you want to observe from. I mean, what it really annoys me with regular observers, sorry, Magnus, you're going to get say in just a few seconds, is that they never get to the place where you want them in the game. When they get to the position that you want your observers to, the game is mostly over. So, I mean, even if they scout and do shit, they never get to the real prime. But these guys, you can place them where they should be from the beginning.
Doesn't most other Observer Squad have the camouflage skill?
I think all, but these ones do not have camouflage. That's a good point to make.
Which is, I don't know if maybe
so
these guys they play a little bit differently, and
they
use them.
They play a lot differently from normal Observer Squads, I would think. I can definitely see people running 4 or 5 of this unit in a Luftwaffe army, actually, just to annoy and harass, because they can drop down. They have the potential to do a lot of damage, and if they don't, it's only 4 points.
Yeah, they're very versatile. That they are, But also, now that I'm thinking of it, I really would love to, get some change on the observation rules or the observation squad. I mean, they should be able to have their own turn before everyone else or something. Like, if you have observers, they get to move one time before the game starts or something like that.
To get into position?
Yeah, because why the hell would you have observers? Actually, now I'm thinking of it, but of course, there could be a small problem with those guys, because they could truly be, you drop them everywhere, and you have to have a lot of cash to buy a lot of those, and so those are potentially, once a person with a lot of money could do all of a sudden a list that is better just because they have money, and that annoys me, actually.
We'll see. I'm not if they actually are better. I think they can be annoying, but there's still only 2 guys.
But how many dice?
5 on
each assault rifle.
On Soldier 2 and 6, I think, on Soldier 1.
I think it says 5.
So you
5.
So you drop them near my HQ, and if they don't fire, you reactivate them if I don't take them out. And then another one. I mean, if you drop 2-3 of these guys for just 16-20 points in amongst the opposition, they shoot like hell. Well, okay, but they're only 2 wounds. Perhaps you usually kill them.
Yeah.
But they seem like these guys will most likely always bring in more points than they are and
they definitely have the potential to.
Like I said, these guys, they play very differently from like the observers we have seen before.
And I'm usually just the optimistic on every new unit, and I still think that the Luftwaffe unit is no OP units. I mean, the Luftwaffe list is still just something you blow away, but those guys really annoys me, actually.
We'll see how it shakes out. Let's go to the Raketentruppe units.
Yes, please.
And we have a lot to talk about here because we have mostly seen the airdrop units. Now we're going to the rocket troops.
Yeah.
So first of all, we have some heroes. We have Kaori, the flying ninja.
Oh yeah, she's great.
And she's really great. 5 points, 4 health. She has camouflage.
Yeah.
She has assassin.
Yeah.
And she's an expert with her paired katanas, which is 2 dice, 1 damage in close combat. So yeah, she's a hero killer. This one, basically. Very interesting. And I think that...
And only 5 points.
Yeah, only 5 points. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of her in rocket troop-based armies, definitely.
Yeah, I can't see how you play rocket troops and not use her. There must be something mental wrong with you. Sorry, I mean, or you just haven't been able to get your hands on her. Of course, that's another one. But I mean, but then you turn the page and you see 2 new ones.
And these 3 are most likely going to be in one of those packs.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, and the next one is Raketenman. Yeah. This is the kind of rocketeer. Yeah. Guy we've seen before. 9 points for this. 5 hit points. He has move and fire, and he has a triple assault laser, which is very interesting. This is similar to the laser we talked about before, stats wise. It's 7 dice on vehicle 1, and then it goes down all the way to 1/1.
Yeah.
But he has move and fire.
Yeah.
Yes,
and this guy
can also shoot at aircraft with his lasers.
Yes.
Not too many lasers can do that.
Yeah, so this is and he has still only 2 dice versus aircraft, but he will most likely hit, since he will have good opportunities to shoot sustained.
Yeah, exactly.
And he can bring a squad with him that also gets move and fire.
Like an anti-aircraft unit?
Yeah, perhaps? So yeah, this guy is going to be really, really deadly, I think.
Yeah, it's basically it's actually all about the move and fire.
Yeah.
Same as a lot of other heroes that have this skill. This skill is just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy with 3/6 move.
Yeah.
That's
and 5 wounds. But the most interesting thing with this guy is the looks. The design
he looks badass.
Yeah, he's one of the most beautiful models that the studio has done, and this, of course, as the one we're coming to in a few seconds, annoys me like hell, because I've said, and I will keep my word on this, I won't be bringing no fucking lift. Okay, I bought 1 unit, I know, just for you can't buy everything. At least if you're not a multi-millionaire, so you have to say no to some things. But these 3 heroes, the ninja, the racket man, and the next one, is just, they're so fucking badass. They're so fucking beautifully done. They're sculpted in the right way. They're
and like you see in the photo where he's
it's
just about to kill Winter's child.
I said leave that for the people to find out. That action photo with the Raketenman, that's just...
He deserves to be bought just because he's killing Winter's child.
Well, you can always dream, Magnus. He's not killing Winter's child, he's annoying Winter's child, and then he's smoked. But that picture is so good. You could easily frame that. I mean, have that at least on your wall, on your hobby room, because it's just, they get the moment captured so very good, and that's so nice in this book. This Condor book.
All the photographs in this book are just lovely.
Yeah,
absolutely lovely.
Very nice.
So you kind of teased it a lot here, but let's go to the next page.
Yeah, you want to say it, so I'm keeping quiet.
Goliath, the Luftwaffe.
Yes.
The flying rocket pack wearing gorilla.
Yeah.
We've speculated a lot about how the stats are going to turn out, and yes, he is Soldier 3, which means he will not be able to join any other gorillas, unfortunately. So this guy does not have the loner skill, but he could have, because he's not joining anyone. He's also an assassin. He has charge, and he has the same heavy panzer gloves as the standard gorillas have. But in comparison with the standard gorillas, like I said, Soldier 3, he has a rocket pack, so he moves 3 and 6, and he has charge. So yeah, he's basically kind of like an Axis version of Rhino, in a way.
You can see him like that. And he's a beautiful model. It's a lovely little thing, and I'm looking forward at playing against it. I'm of course disappointed that it's not a regular ape unit, and but Oliver had already explained that it would be plain and simple why he wasn't, and we shouldn't go into what says in the book, but it's very it's very easy to explain there that he's not amongst other apes. So fine.
Yeah, but still, you never know what's going to happen in the future.
No, of course.
Nothing preventing them from actually doing a unit of flying apes.
Yeah, but I mean, I would like.
And then you can reenact Wizard of Oz in dust. Send out the flying monkeys.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So yeah, all these, like you said, Ludwig, all these 3 heroes, just wonderful. I can't wait to get my hands on these, because they are absolutely fantastic.
It's probably that you buy it and have them in the shelf. I mean, just because you want them there.
Yeah, because they're just kind of model pieces.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about the rest of the rocket troops here. We got the Raketentruppe Command Squad. 13 points for a Command Squad. And I guess for these weapons and the flying rule, that's not very surprising, I guess. 1 Fliegerfaust, 4 assault rifles, and 2 Panzerfausts. And of course they're a Command Squad. So they can definitely defend themselves if need be. Not much more to say about that, I think.
No, I think it's pretty standard, and compared to other command squads, it's
Yeah, and these are already released. These are the first units that we talked about in this episode that's available to purchase now. The next one is not, however, the Raketentruppe Tank Hunter Squad. 9 points for this squad. They have 2 bazookas, the old Panzerschrecks. That is the unlimited ammo anti-tank weapon. 3 assault rifles and 2 Panzerfausts. So these, they're the tank hunters. And for 9 points, I can definitely see myself running at least 2 of these in a Raketentruppe-based Luftwaffe army, definitely.
Yeah, they also look pretty standard, actually. Very similar to the regular what they're called.
Units,
Yeah.
Sturmgrenadier.
I think anti-tank, Sturm anti-tank.
Something. The regular Soldier 2.
Yeah.
The Lufthorst is, I think, a unit we have talked about before. The airdrop walker with the artillery weapons. The new thing about this is that it's now. Previously, it was only available as a model kit, but now you can also get it as primed and premium. But then we have completely new, the 2 new flying units, the Hexe and the Geist, the new aircraft. I think only one of these, the Hexe, is available as primed premium and model kit, and the Geist is only available in the model kit version at the moment. So let's talk about these units a bit. The Hexe, 18 points, 6 hit points, move 10, march 20, and aircraft 2. And they both have the quad medium autocannons, so they are very effective against infantry and against other aircraft. We've seen this before. The difference is the secondary weapons. The Hexe has the gliding bomb, and it has 2 special rules that are they have two special rules that are involved with this. It has a radar, and the radar is very interesting. The both of these have the radar skill, and what the radar skill does is it reads: a vehicle with this equipment can re-roll once any failed dice when making an attack or sustained attack action. So it's basically a
Against
super
aircraft.
sustained, against aircraft only. So these are your anti-aircraft basically.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the Geist, because it can use both weapons against other aircraft.
Oh yeah.
But still, also, I don't think people should underestimate the Geist possibilities to cause havoc amongst almost everything.
No, absolutely.
Of course, it's not used against heavy walkers and heavy tanks, but it's still the possibility to annoy two units at the same time.
Oh yeah, let's just talk about the armaments on the Geist. It has, like I said, the quad autocannons, and it also has a dual autocannon that's mounted kind of on the bottom of the plane.
In a turret.
Yeah, and this one can, of course, wreak havoc on infantry, can hurt vehicles up to vehicle 5, doesn't do much damage, but it can still hurt it. But it's, like you said, it's a lot of dice coming at you, and you can't hide from it, like with all aircraft, basically. And also, it's 5 dice, 2 damage each on both of these. So it's 10 dice with 2 damage each on aircraft. On choppers, especially. I think we're going to be seeing that. So, yeah. I think we're going to see specifically the Geist in a lot of Luftwaffe armies just to counter choppers.
Yeah, I think there is a beautiful picture there with a Geist and 3 choppers coming at it, and you wonder who will be on top on that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, also, and I understand people are saying that it's the anti-aircraft weapon, but still, I see it as an anti-infantry weapon.
Oh yes.
I even though they are not that good on stats, I think it's only 5 from one of the guns or something like that against the infantry, but still having 2 unlimited weapon lines shooting at different targets, and also one is a turret.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this privately, and I think that's kind of a big deal, the fact that it's not a limited ammunition weapon. With a lot of other aircraft, then you fire off your big gun and
you die.
then you're done. You can't really do anything. Then the opponent can just ignore you because you can't hurt anything. Not so with the Geist.
No. That's why I love this one on the Invader so much. I know it's powerful that it can transport the Invader, but to me, I couldn't give. No, I give a little, but that's not the thing that triggers me.
I'm looking forward to putting Bloody Baron in the Geist.
Yeah, I understand that.
Fly around with the super save and shoot a lot, and especially against other aircraft.
Yeah.
Still getting to reroll all those dice.
Definitely.
That's going to be a nice combination.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Let's just go back for a moment and talk about the secondary weapon on the Hexed, because we kind of skipped over that.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
The gliding bomb, no, you shouldn't, because this thing is insane. It's double blast on everything. Not that much. It's double blast 1 on infantry, which is okay. It's not that exciting, but it's good. But the fact that it's double blast on all vehicles, and it's a ton of freaking damage.
Yeah.
It's dead all the way up to 3, then it's like 5 damage and 4 damage on 7. You can do 8 damage in one attack on a vehicle 7 with this thing.
And it uses the large ordnance rule, which is artillery template or targets 4 square with it.
Yeah. This is crazy.
Yeah, I love this. I love it super much. I want to see it in the gridless version. I want to see it come and you see. It's like we were watching, Johannes, you were with me watching Dunkirk.
Oh yeah.
Like the scene, where infantrymen is running everywhere. Just get away from that fucking Stuka that is coming in. And the same I see almost here. You place it in on one of the edge of the table, and your little plastic figures will be starting to run by themselves.
Because this is one of the most powerful weapons we've seen in the game so far. It's like a mini nuke.
Yeah, but it's only one shot.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's super okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps you miss it. I mean, it almost like
from that perspective, it does feel very Luftwaffe.
Yeah, definitely.
You get one shot.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah. It's like everyone will be quiet in the gaming room when he rolls the dice, and then otherwise either you hear "yay" from the Luftwaffe guy or "fuck it" something like I don't know, but
and that's it for the Axis units that there's of course a lot of other units in the book that we haven't talked about, but that's because we have talked about them previously in other episodes. But let's kind of quickly go over to the one new SSU unit that we haven't talked about, the Type 47.
Yeah.
We have talked about this when it was teased, but we haven't discussed the stats of it.
No.
And except it's a heavy Tesla walker, 20 points and 7 hit points, not damage resilient.
But we didn't suspect that because it's the same chassis as the Babushka.
That is true. It's a twin Tesla gun that's 7-1 on everything, and except aircraft.
It's kind of shitty, and it's too big price at 20 to give a fuck. It is a beautiful model if you play a few of them. If you have the right mentality and you use it in the right way, you can of course have fun with it. And I will buy at least one. So critical as I am, but also I feel like I don't know if this is appropriate, but I just felt like a few people couldn't handle that the Tesla brought another game level to another way of playing the game to the game, exactly as some people are now just annoyed with the Luftwaffe because it's just not the standard A1 format. So the Teslas beforehand brought something special to the game. A lot of people were annoyed by that because they couldn't handle it. So a lot of certain people criticized about it, and then they changed it to this because the Teslas are fucking useless right now. At least if you're not playing against heavy walkers.
I'm gonna have to say that I prefer the rule as it is now. The problem is that they are too expensive, and basically for me it's the same for all these
special
weapons. Teslas, phasers, lasers.
Yeah, well,
I think they are all too expensive. I'm not sure about how I would cost this one. I haven't really thought about it, but 20 points. It's too much. Just on the top of my head, I would probably say like 17-ish, something like that. I can't remember. What's the Matryoshka and the Babushka?
One is 16, one is 12.
12?
So 12, yeah. Babushka.
Sounds too cheap, actually.
Oh, it's 14, perhaps. 14. Sorry. 14,
16,
yeah,
something.
Sorry,
Yeah. So I don't know.
17 does sound kind of
something
right.
like that.
Yeah. But then also, and when you look at it, it has the first, at least I did. When I looked at it, it had only one weapon line against infantry. I mean, one machine gun then.
Yeah.
So I was annoyed by that as well. Then, of course, I switched around because it has 2 dice 2 against aircraft 2.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's better, I think, than the other stat lines. And when you have a walker like this, mostly when you had the Matryoshka and you were firing at an infantry unit, you were only firing on the infantry unit because then it was too close and you needed to disperse of that unit, so you even used your big guns just to get 2 extra dice or something like when you get with blast.
Yeah.
So I don't actually am that critical now because I have if your infantry unit gets too close to this, my Type 47, I will use both my Teslas and my machine guns on you because I need all the dice I can get just to get rid of the unit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me that much again. No more. I mean, so first off, I was annoyed.
And because
And I'm
this
not
is
that annoyed.
it has twin heavy machine gun. It's
Yeah.
not the same as the others.
No, they have
yeah.
two singles, so it got more versatile. One was front, one was turret. This is turret. But still, you have a lot of dice against a superhuman or something like that. Because how many is it?
It's 11 total if you
Yeah.
go with all the weapons.
So you say a Winter Child or a certain victory comes at you, or a Goliath, perhaps. You can still have a lot of dice trying to get that sucker down to size.
And Tesla versus superhumans is really good.
Yeah, that's their use. I mean, superhuman and vehicle 6 and 7.
Yeah.
That's why you use them. But
there are pros and cons, but anyway, it feels a bit too expensive.
But
I think it feels a little bit too expensive and a little bit too vanilla. It's nothing that really kind of sticks out and nothing that makes it really that special in my eyes.
SSU has got a lot of flack from certain people that they are so overpowered and underpriced and stuff like that, and they are the OP lists and everything. But you get a little feeling that this one, they dare not do it better than this, because otherwise people would be screaming and stuff.
Maybe.
But then also, the thing is, we should never forget, when we look at a stat card, it's very easy to have one opinion and do some mathematically calculation and say this is good or bad. And there are a few people who excel on doing that and love to do that. But the thing is, when you use it in the game, it gets a second. It behaves differently than on paper.
Oh yes.
So this, I can still see it. 2 of these in one army combined with the right sort of infantry, and they can still be very fun to play and used in the right way. So yes, I am frustrated, of course. I wanted it to be just slightly better. Perhaps have the salvo version possibility, because it has 2 and they are quite big, those Tesla guns. So perhaps you could have the possibility to shoot both, get 14 dice, and then you have to reload. I wouldn't mind at least giving me, since it doesn't have the damage resilience. You are fucked if you have an opponent that has anything that can take it out, and then 20 points just to put it on the board because it's a beautiful model, just to get shot at. Nah, it doesn't.
That's what you use your mechanics for, you know.
Yeah, but the thing is, the vehicle 5, 7 lives. Okay, you can take 1 hit, but most likely you will take 2 hits before you can do something with the mechanic on it. So it's because you have one of these, you have to field a lot of mechanics in your army list just to keep this one going, and then everything centers around this, and that it's not that good.
No, it's definitely, this is a support walker. It's definitely not supposed to be the centerpiece of your army in any way.
And then it gets wrong, even though in many ways it's right. But
it's tricky. It's difficult to still. I'm guessing a lot of the cost from the Teslas actually comes from the fact that it rolls 7 dice across the board. 7 dice against vehicle 6, 7 dice against vehicle 7.
That is really
a lot of
itself.
dice.
Oh yes.
So like we said before, when talking about lasers, you are very, very likely to do at least some damage with this guy.
Oh yes, yeah.
So
that's why
there's
I think
pros and cons with it, but still,
you really need to combine it with the right other stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a bit about the platoons for the Luftwaffe that's included in the book. And as we mentioned before, there are 5 of them, and 4 of them are for the rocket troops and only 1 for the Fallschirmjäger, which is interesting. And I think that's because the Fallschirmjäger are really, really tough to make balanced platoons for. Because almost anything you do to make the airdrop rule better has enormous potential to just make the game totally broken.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we only see 1, and it's it's quite simple. It's based on Kurt, or you can use the Fallschirmjäger Cmon Squad and some infantry. And the bonus you get is that they can drop within... they get one space closer to objectives, basically. They must not be within range 1 instead of range 2 when they're placed on the battlefield. So they can drop a bit closer to objectives. I think that should be okay. It's not too overpowered. It does make it a bit more easier to place, especially depending on the scenario. For scenarios with a lot of objectives, that had been a problem before for the Luftwaffe, and this helps.
Actually been a problem for all airdropping units.
Oh yes.
This is a good ability actually. It's especially if you're playing with multiple objectives, of course.
Yeah, but even if you're playing just with one, because then you have all the map to place your units.
Yeah, and also what I'm thinking is that it gives you, of course, more opportunity to place the unit where you want to place it. Basically, you have more space to choose from, and also a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but some of the scenarios, I believe, they say you can contest an objective if you are within 2.
Yeah.
So I guess this means maybe that they can contest. I'm not sure. Or what does the airborne rule say? Maybe it say you can't contest when they're placed.
That's usually... it's rare that that's relevant on the turn they airdrop, because they airdrop on turn 1.
Yeah, I suppose. But still, you can place them closer, and they don't have to move. If you can find a nice tree space to put them in,
that's true.
You can just put them there and let them fire away. So yeah, I think this is a nice platoon. I don't really see anything that's, overpowered with it, but it's also not a bad, useless one. So yeah, this is good.
Yeah. The ones that think that Luftwaffe is too overpowered, they will be irritated, because they've been speculating that they should do scenarios with more objective points to balance the Luftwaffe, and then this platoon comes.
And the Fallschirmjäger specifically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, the next platoon, it's the Luftwaffe Raketentruppe platoon. This is led by Raketenmann, or a Cmon Squad, and then some infantry. And the bonus you get here is that all Raketentruppe units in this platoon pass their infantry saves on both symbols in the first turn of the game. So always in cover, basically.
Rangers are go!
Yeah, we recognize this. And I think for the Raketentruppe, with their mobility, this is really, really good.
It's going to be interesting to see, because we haven't seen that many Allied heavy Rangers using it and getting it to work. At least I haven't faced a few heavy Rangers who had this, but it hasn't made any difference. But there are, of course, fewer per squad.
I think this skill of getting a better save on the first turn, it's actually better for the Raketentruppe, just like you said, Johannes, because they are faster, so they have more options on where to place, and they can really push forward and play aggressively. That is, I mean, the heavy Rangers, the flying guys, and the heavy Rangers, they can do that, but they are a lot more, how would you say, like sensitive. Only 3 guys in each unit, and I don't know, it doesn't feel enough. I'm not sure. The Raketentruppe, they are a bit cheaper, not too many points, but it might just push it over into a working platoon, because I see it, the heavy Rangers platoon with this ability. No, I'm not playing that again. It's just, not working.
You basically need to put too many points to build the platoon, so you don't get worth it. You can't bring in the support you need.
Yeah, in this platoon it might work. I'm gonna hold out on that a little bit to see how it works out. I'm not sure if it's good enough or but I think it's better at least.
Then we have the Luftwaffe Raketentruppe Shadow platoon. This is a very simple platoon. It's Kauri, the flying ninja, and 1 infantry squad. And what this does is that the squad that she's joined with also gets camouflage.
Yeah.
Very, very simple.
But a very, very nice and interesting, funny little thing, because it's one that it's just a hero and one squad that becomes special.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking about this when I first saw this, is then why is this not a skill on Kaori that she can share her camouflage? And then I kind of thought, oh, okay, that's because that if this is a platoon, then she can't be another platoon. She doesn't get to have the
extra save.
On turn 1, for example. So I think that's the kind of point with it.
Yeah, but it's also nice. I always love when there's that little thing that gets special. It's just one unit, and this is a special thing for just them.
Yeah, it's fun and fluffy. I don't think it's that powerful, maybe, but it's fun. And
is there any? No, there's no Raketentruppe that have the scout rule.
No, I don't think so.
Because that would be pretty cool, actually, to scout in with those just flying and then completely hide.
Yeah,
that would be hilarious.
That would.
All right, next one is the assault platoon, and this is led by Goliath. So even if he can't join any units himself, he can lead a platoon. So that's the flying monkey and 2 other infantry units, and this is very interesting because this gives the platoon the brave skill, so they just roll extra dice for removing under fire and suppression. So just go in and mess stuff up, basically.
And it's so good that he's the leader of it, because I'm guessing no of those infantry want to argue the point.
I think that's kind of the head. What do you call it? The kind of head cannon that I had is that the units in his platoon are more afraid of him than they are of the enemy.
Yeah. At least I would.
And finally, we have the Florentine platoon, and this is the starter box. And I think this is the most interesting one, because what this does is give every unit in this platoon that has limited ammo the opportunity to make an airdrop on themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is good or not, because you still have to do the action in order to get it. You might not get it because you might roll poorly, but you have the opportunity to, and it's very, very, very cool.
Yes, it's a new thing. I like it very much because it gives you an option. It gives you something different, and it's definitely it could work. Some games you could get really good momentum because of this, but in some games you just waste your
and again, it's very Luftwaffe. It's very luck based. If you have the opportunity to do something really cool, you might not get it, but when you do, it really feels great. I think that's kind of a thing about the whole fraction, maybe.
I think this platoon is very interesting, actually. It has the potential to be a very powerful ability, since it gives all Luftwaffe units, not only like her personal guys, not only the Raketentruppe, it gives all Luftwaffe units this ability.
Yeah.
But isn't the wording that it's only on themselves they can do it?
Yes, that's the thing. They can only do this limited ammo drop special action on themselves.
Yeah.
Unit A can't do it for B.
No, exactly.
That makes it so...
if they could do that, it would be like bonkers good.
that would be insane.
But I think it's a really interesting one, because a lot of these units, they have Panzerfausts in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So especially infantry. I'm not sure about the vehicles. Do we have any limited ammo guys in?
Don't think so. Ooh. Yes, we do.
Lasers.
The airplane.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. This is
The Hexa.
probably but airdrop. It says you have to target the ground unit.
That's true.
So,
That is true. That is true.
You can never replenish an airplane.
No.
No.
That's why they.
So it's basically
That's
just the
why I like
Panzerfaust.
the 2 weapon lines, unlimited.
Yeah, that would be crazy. The airplane's picking up another glider bomb mid-flight.
No, but it's also. I mean, if you think. Try to think a little bit realistically about it. These are units trained to jump in quick. They have limited ammo. They must be trained to get new ammo.
Yeah, I think isn't like the backstory here that they have kind of scattered the field with lots of ammo boxes that they have prepared it, and they knew that they know that they are there, so they have the ability to fill up and then. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I don't know if that, but come think of it, you should be able perhaps buy that in the future to have ammo drop. I mean, if you have
you have those scenery rules for
I know
crates,
the ammo, but I'm thinking then also the opposition knows where they are and you come but I see like this, if you could like pay 5 points or something, I don't know, just set 5 points out of the blue, and you buy that card, and that is the air supply card, so you don't have the HQ, but if you have bought it, you can once every turn perhaps roll a die on a fraction symbol, you get to place an ammo crate anywhere on the board.
That's kind of an interesting idea to have kind of upgrade cards or tactics cards for your army that costs points. That's not a unit, but gives the army itself some kind of boost or some kind of skill.
Yeah,
that could be a potential future development, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps it's only this that has that is interesting, but I can see other things also. Like,
and that's another thing that I know that I've been kind of wondering about when we talk about platoons. I don't think any of these platoons are overpowered or have the potential to be overpowered in any way. There are other platoons in the game that have been accused of being overpowered, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
One kind of potential fix for this, or some at least open up some more kind of design space for it. What if platoons cost points in addition to requiring the units to build it? Because then you could have free platoons, you just need to put in the unit and you get it. But if you want a really, really specific, really powerful ability, then you have to pay a little bit of extra points for it.
Well, why not? It's not a stupid idea. It's a good idea. It's a nice thought. Me, personally, I still don't think that it's any platoons that are that overpowered and stuff like that. So but I definitely think that if the studio or the greater mass thinks that it's some problem they need to fix, then that's the way to go. That's a good way to go. I think that you could grade them in different.
I would also say it could be a possibility, but also that would make things a bit more complicated. Like when you're building your army lists and you want to build a faction bonus list, those points, what part do they come from? It's not going to be super difficult to sort out, but still, like one extra thing you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, probably.
So I don't know. No, but these new platoons here, they look interesting, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they play out on the battlefield.
Absolutely. We also have 3 new scenarios in the book. These are all based on the kind of Fort Chabrol story. And these are much more specific than the scenarios in the original rulebook, which kind of suggested more. This is very specific. Of course, you can always kind of just set this up however you want to, of course. But in the book, it's very specific setup with very specific terrain. And what's interesting about it for me is also that it's 4 mats. It's 12 squares by 18 squares. So it's a really big, for gridded play, it's a very, very big area.
Mm-hmm.
And there's absolutely no cover other than the middle part of it. So that's also I really want to try this out, because this could be very, very weird.
Yeah, but so people don't get the wrong picture. It's a lot of things on the map as well.
Oh yes.
So I mean your sight lines will be
there's a
obscured
center rectangle.
That's the fort or the kind of outpost, and then there's just desert outside that.
I think it looks interesting, and I would say I like 2 of these 3 scenarios. The third one I'm kind of hesitating about, because to me it looks like a typical, like very typical attacker-defender scenario, where the defender and the attacker, they have the same amount of points. The defender, he sits right in all the cover spaces, basically, has a very good position and don't need to move, because the attacker needs to kill him. And if the attacker doesn't kill enough of the defenders, they lose. So the attacker moves in, so can't do much sustaining fire, and have very little cover.
Yeah.
So I would say this normally...
But I think that's how you think about these scenarios as well, because these are not meant to be balanced, I think. These scenarios are kind of narrative based. These are made to tell a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
The defenders in this first scenario, they should have an advantage, because that's how the story goes.
Well, at the same time, they are it's this kind of surprise attack.
Well,
where the Luftwaffe attacks. They have a prepared position, but they weren't expecting the attack right there and then. They weren't like waiting for the attackers. So I would say that, I don't know, if I would design that scenario, I would probably change the points a little bit, like 100% for the attackers and, I don't know, maybe 75 for the defender or something like that. So at least the attacker has some kind of numerical advantage.
I'm guessing the reason why they have 100 points each is the same reason why they have 6 turns only, and it's the same setup for every scenario. I mean, terrain-wise, because this is a campaign that you should be able to play in a day or in an afternoon. Because I see that it's the strong thing for me with these 3 scenarios, that it's probably quick to play. You get, as Johannes says, you get that narrative story. We try the Condor. Let's do the Condor thing. Yeah, and it's great, because also when you think of it, you seldom have more time. With the previous boxes, when in 6 scenarios, you had. Well, sometimes we managed to get through to the 5th scenario or something like that if we played during the one day, and then one had the advantage so much we knew that the campaign was won by one or the other. But at the same time, I'm irritated that it's only 3 scenarios, because it's, to me, what is making me come back to the Condor book will be the scenarios. That's why I will bring back the Condor book again and again. When I play the 3 scenarios, they're also similar, since they look the same, are on the same type of mats, same fort, everything. I guess I will feel after at least the second playthrough, okay, I'm done with Condor. I've done it, it was nice, but now I want to do something else.
Yeah, I kind of understand what you mean, because that's one of the things that people always ask about. Can I play these old scenarios from version 1 in version 3 in 1947? And people like that. They liked having that narrative and that kind of progression.
Blue
in their
Thunder,
games.
for instance, in the old coffin box, I have played that several times. So I mean, and you still, if someone would like to play that with me now, I mean tomorrow or something like that, I would say, oh yeah, let's do it, because it works like that long.
I guess that but it's also kind of subjective, and how much time do you actually have? For me, I don't know if I ever played through like 6 or even 5 scenarios of the old ones in one day. I'm not sure. I can't really remember now, but And I think it's kind of hilarious in the old books because it says play through these scenarios and then switch sides and play them again. So you're supposed to play like 10 or 12 scenarios. I don't know. That's
dedicated
way too
gamers
much.
do that, Magnus. You have to start, get into gaming.
And that's like people playing with their spouses, so they don't have to travel from.
Exactly. I know. And of course, more is always good. More is nice. So. I don't know. But 3 might be a bit too little, but I don't know. 6 is probably too much for me. So I would say like maybe 4 or 5 scenarios. That's.
Yeah, I could also see it. It depends now. What are they thinking? When will we get the next expansion and stuff like that? Because if it takes a year or 2 before next expansion comes out, then 3 scenarios will be too little. If I have to wait half a year only. Then the next expansion comes out, which I think it should. Then, bam, 3 scenarios. Then again, it's nice. It's just the right amount. In this Condor, they could have done just what they did with those 3 scenarios, with that little story campaign. But I feel like they could have told perhaps 1 story more, with 3 more scenarios that were grouped together. So you could go like, okay. Today we do Condor A, but tomorrow we do Condor B. Something like happened.
It's 2 phases. So the first phase is these 3 scenarios. So 3 surrounding the fort, and the next 3 could be something else.
Yeah, because perhaps something significant happened just beyond this fort that also could be perhaps tied in. So, and that could be perhaps SSU versus Allied Rangers or USMC heavy. So now it's like you buy these and you want to find someone to play Luftwaffe, and you play your Desert Scorpions and you have a lot of fun. But if you don't have those 2 scenarios, of course it doesn't say you have to have those forces to play these scenarios. No. Probably hilariously fun to play with other armies and fractions as well. But I mean, it wouldn't have taken that much if they've done just a. And also, in the meantime, when this happened, the rumors of this led to an SSU Allied engagement. Another Allies tried to stop the Spetsnaz coming here to this place.
I just say, read the stories in the book.
Really nice stories there.
Then you really get some kind of food for thought for building your own scenarios. I guarantee it.
Actually, I have to say this about the kind of size of the expansion with this one and former ones. And I actually spoke to Olivier a little bit about this, and because this is like a book expansion, there are no models included, like the old bigger boxes stuff. And I'm not, I didn't get a concrete answer, so to say, but if I understood correctly, the plan is to do these kind of smaller expansions but more frequently, which I think is a really good idea.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Keeps everything fresh. Of course, a big box with lots of stuff is nice as well, but they can keep the price down a bit, and
then we can maybe get to that 6-month interval, maybe. So the next book would probably be focused on the Desert Scorpions or the PLA, maybe, or maybe both.
Yeah,
if that's the plan.
Please don't get me wrong. I think the 128 pages is well worth the price, and the stuff I get in that Condor book is it's a must, it's a sell, it's no fucking deal here. But I just to me they could have taken 3 out of the pages with something and removed those 3 pages and put 3 more scenarios in a second stage campaign. For me that would have been, because we waited so long for Condor. And we waited, and we're probably going to wait a little bit more than we should until the next one of these comes out, even though they have the ambition.
So that said, who should we recommend should buy this book?
Everyone.
Yes, of course.
I will recommend it to everyone I meet, everyone at work. Buy this. It supports the Dust Studio. Buy it.
But I think specifically, of course, people who play the Luftwaffe and want the platoons, or they
people
want
who play or maybe planning on starting with Luftwaffe. Of course,
if you're even the slightest bit interested in the history and the background and the fluff of the game, absolutely no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's
If you
wonderful
only-
with all these stories and all the pictures and all the background information. It's great.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, for me, those short stories there, they are really good. Very well written. Yeah, very nice. It gives very, I would say, it gives you a lot of images and inspiration to, conjure up scenarios of your own.
If you don't play in the desert, then don't buy this.
Yeah, probably.
Because you don't.
If you hate the desert,
don't buy it. Because if you don't care about, because then you get the stat cards for the units when you buy the units.
Mhm.
So if you only perhaps have gaming boards in Sverograd or Antarctica, or if you have some fixed idea, I only play in the Pacific or something, whatever, then of course you shouldn't buy this. Or if you hate Luftwaffe or something like that.
And that said, it's going to be a few more expansions until we switch theaters again, because we still have the Desert Scorpions and the PLA coming, and we know that those are based in the Condor, Babylon area. But then later on, we know we are getting the Japanese. That's most likely going to be the Pacific theater. I think most people kind of think that's what's going to happen.
Sounds logical, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That studio have surprised us before.
That is true, but I think we hope that just to get more kind of variation in our play.
But, and you have to also think about that they now have made some effort to making great scenery houses and buildings.
Oh yes.
And at least as I perceived it before, those were the things that really cost money for the studio to do. They had a real problem when the houses they did for Sverograd didn't sell as well as FFG wanted them to produce. So they had a lot of red. There were a lot in the red on that perspective, as I have understood it. So I'm guessing they will do what they can to keep every nice scenery piece that they've produced now to still for some reason be
to keep them relevant.
Yeah.
I can see that. And that's the final section of the book also. It's kind of a list of all the available terrain pieces that they are selling at the moment, and they are describing exactly how they work in the game, which is really useful for people doing tournaments.
Oh, yes.
Because these kind of arguments happen all the time. How does this piece of scenery work? Do I get cover if I stand behind this or not? Can I go over this with Walker? Look in the Condor book. It's all in there.
But it's just one thing, of course, that perhaps I shouldn't. It's too personal. You get that. Let's see where you got it. That piece that we had. Yeah, there it is. It's there. No, it's in the middle there. The impossible terrain piece.
Yeah.
What does it say about line of sight with that?
Uses the rules for structures found on page 19 of Dust 1947 rulebook.
Yeah, so you can still not fire through it.
No.
Well, that's good at least, because then they keep it in line with the Belgium scenarios.
Oh yes,
because that was the piece that fucked Belgium. But that's another area.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that it's really good to have this kind of stuff
definitely.
in print, because then you know what you're getting yourself into.
Definitely.
And that's very important.
I so wished this book had come before that tournament. It would have been
And of course, it's not just the book itself. We also have the extra advanced rules for gridless. I know a lot of people have been wanting this ever since the original 1947 book. Have you read through this?
Yes.
And Magnus, you're the rules expert. So I know there's been some discussions about how to interpret some of the rules in this, and I know that from reading it that at least one of the things that have been argued, depending on how you kind of interpreted it, I don't think is a problem. This kind of does away with the immortal leader stuff, the tracing the line of sight from only the leader of the unit, all that stuff that certain people were annoyed by in the original version of the rules. And it's simplified some stuff, like for infantry units, you draw line of sight from the base of the unit to any part of the target unit. And I know that that's kind of been controversial in some, because there's been a discussion, but if I stand behind a low wall,
You can't see me.
you can't see me because I traced that. But there, the thing is that that's taking it a step beyond. That's kind of Dust Warfare or Warhammer 40k or something like that thinking. Because the rules actually state that if the line of sight passes through a terrain piece or a scenery element that blocks line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to define if the terrain piece itself blocks line of sight or not.
Right.
So a low wall, by definition, does not block line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the line passes through it, the line of sight is not blocked.
Well, yeah.
So it solves that. So, but it is kind of clunky because it's not intuitive, I think.
No, and I don't know. I think I understand why these rules were written, and I understand that a lot of people probably like them because they are used to, like more traditional wargaming. Maybe used to Dust Warfare or whatever, some other game. I don't know, with these rules they still kept a few things, like you still check line of sight from the leader model, except for, I think, flamers. But you check 2 individual models, instead of checking from leader to leader, you check from leader to whatever models. Which is kind of halfway to me. I don't know, why don't you just choose this way or that way? Fine. This some kind of middle ground. I don't know. I don't really see why settle for this middle ground.
No,
I'm not sure. I can't.
I'm happy that people get happy. I'm happy they can play the game like they want to. But I'm definitely perhaps this a time when we actually can agree on something, Magnus.
Maybe.
I actually think this. I think it's a waste of paper to print on. I'm sorry, but I mean, I heard also some arguments, and I'm sorry if I offend someone, but no, I'm not actually. I don't give a fuck. You can offend me back. I don't get offended, so please go ahead. Some people want the gridless to be another type of game than the tactical game. It was too similar. Fuck off, play Warfare then. Why should we have this? And now they have different suppression and under fire rules. Why do I have to, why can't I just take my same units, play the same way on both places, on both the gridded and non-gridded, and have it simplified? The problem why we stopped playing Warfare was that it was too much of a different game. Either you played Warfare or you played Tactic. If you try to play both, it got all mixed up. People confused one rule from one place to the other. And after a few games, we only we sit down, read rules like the awful 40k, and it was just like, what the fuck are we playing this game for? So you had to go with one line. I could agree if everyone in Sweden wanted to play Warfare, or the one I played with, I would have easily played Warfare because it's a great game, but
it's a very different game.
Yeah, you don't play Tactics then and it was so simple.
To be fair, these rules are kind of optional. You don't have to use them. You can just use the ordinary rule book, which is fine, and that's kind of the point I also wanted to make here, that the Dust 1947 rules are very quick, very streamlined. It's action. And for me, it should be that in both grids and gridless. If I would play with these advanced, which I actually haven't yet, so I'm probably going to try them out. But to me, it looks like it should like slow down the game a bit and make kind of complicating things unnecessarily.
Yeah, I get the feeling that and same thing. I'm just talking out of my ass. I haven't played them, so I don't know exactly for sure. But it seems like they're doing a Warfare light for some reason. And for me, Warfare was such a great game in itself. So why play this version? You should be playing Warfare.
Well, the thing is also that we have to remember is that these rules are not for us.
Oh.
There are people, a vocal group, who asked specifically for this.
Yes.
This is for them.
Yeah.
It's not for us. So
but the thing is, when we, as Magnus at least and I, when we are out demoing this game, it's one of the sell points is you either play it on a paper mat or a rubber mat, with no 3D. Either way, then you can, if you want to, you build your 3D models. But then, when you want to play it gridless, you just put a flat mat on. You put the grass out and you place your buildings any way you want. And you just play the same way, same stats, same rules.
Yeah.
That's just the... So...
Of course, some things has to be a bit different just because of that grid versus non-grid. So some things need to adapt a little bit. But for me, it's a great selling point to have as little change as possible. Yeah, they should be very, very similar.
Because I know they, at least as I understood it, Oliver didn't want the suppression and the under fire rules for tactics in the beginning. So, because he thought that it slowed the game down, but he put it into tactics to make it a similar game.
Yeah, and I think that was a very good choice.
It was a good choice, but when you do these difference, you can do away with it. Then simplify it even more. Then do away with under fire and suppression in tactics. Then also make it even more diverse. But then you're in the same space. And the thing is, when you try to organize then perhaps some championship or some masters or something, you will have some. We already have some who still play Warfare, even in Sweden. They hide away and they don't show up when we play. And that's fair. But then we will have the ones that try gridless and the ones that want to play these new gridless. So, and then if we do a tournament, if we want to do it in gridless, we have to most likely do it in this new format, even though we don't want it, because we want to attract players. We want not just the same. But on the other side, if we do that, then the ones that we now, in current time, can persuade to go, who just don't want to play gridless, but when we seduce them with these, it's the same game, just come play a little bigger mats, a little bit more points. Those guys won't come when we say, and you have to learn these and these and these and these new rules. You have to understand that the game is different from this, and you have to start moving one. So, as a tournament organizer, as a demoing guy, as someone who wants to grow the community, I'm sad that they did this. I'm sorry.
I actually have to agree with you, because this is kind of a printed version of house rules in a way, and I think that the official rules, like you said, Magnus, should be as close together between the two versions as possible, just to make the game accessible to as many people as possible. If you kind of splinter it up into different subgroups, then the game itself kind of hurts from it, unfortunately. But I'm not saying that I think that the rules themselves are bad or anything. I just kind of think that I'm not really a fan of dividing up the player base. Unless that means that, more players are coming in on all the different sides, of course. Then, sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people are going to like these and are going to use
absolutely,
it. And I know there are lots of people that never play grid. They always play gridless, and they might just, continue playing with these advanced rules, and that's fine, of course. If people are happy with that, that's fine. To me, it looks just, unnecessary.
Yeah,
I feel it wasn't necessary. If something really needed changing, like a lot of people have been complaining about this immortal leader thing, well, either just wait until the next edition of the game and change that particular rule, or write an errata about it and change it, and that's fine.
And of course they can be upset about it, but I actually think that playing gridless is a little bit more fun overall, because I like it when you're a little bit more free in your movements of your units and stuff like that. I think you can do more interesting maneuvers when you play gridless, actually.
It makes the game more cinematic, definitely.
Yeah, but I friggin' love the leader thing. that you have a leader as a dot. Because to me, it was so smart. It was the ultimate, how do I get a tabletop game that an adult can play and still have a life, a family, or a home, or
because what it does is it speeds up the game.
Yes.
It makes the rules very simple, very unambiguous, and it is simplified.
Yes,
but this is a beer and pretzels game.
Yeah, and also because if you want a realistic game, it doesn't matter. You can this extra rules doesn't do shit.
No,
and warfare doesn't do shit. I mean, you need to have some. I don't know what type of game you want. If you want it to be realistic.
In this specific case with the leader, it's. I don't think people have that much problem of the leader. It's that he is immortal. The immortal part is the problem.
Yeah.
So, but I think they could have just solved it basically like they did here. You can shoot the leader if you have a sniper, or the person can actually remove the leader himself. But the unit will get, I think, stunned or something. Right.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just choose another model. You can either remember or point it out to your opponent, or put a marker or whatever. Just different one.
You need the marker. I think you need that. When they were thinking about those.
If you're playing a bigger
rings that with the colors.
Yeah, if you're playing a bigger game, lots of units, it's probably best to have a marker.
Yeah.
But I mean that the problem with the rule can be solved. You don't have to change lots of other things drastically.
No.
That's fine. I don't know. So for me, it looks a bit unnecessary. There are a few things that I like. Like I said, I understand. I remember they put in that each grunt in each guy in a unit can only fire with one weapon instead of all their weapons, and that's basically how it worked in version 2 of the game. And that was one thing that I like.
That's one of the reasons why the African lions are so powerful now.
Exactly. There are a few of those units that can dish out a lot of shots on a lot of different targets. So I actually prefer that. It's not, a big deal or anything, but that's one of the things in these advanced rules that I like.
Yeah, but it would slow down the game if you had you can only fire one weapon line, because then you wouldn't kill people as quick and stuff like that. So
but at the same time, each attack action will take shorter time when you can only fire one target, not that many dice to roll, not many different targets and everything. So
some people I play against will take more time deciding if they should shoot one weapon or the other. So that would make a slower game.
Maybe there are pros and cons with it.
Yes, of course it is. And I personally don't give a flying fuck
if
it's
like
all
I said,
or one. Just as long as people they have made a decision. Now we roll with it. If they make a decision, okay, from now on it's only one. Okay, we only do one. I don't give a shit. We just play.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's not a big deal.
No,
it's just how I prefer that specific little part. But
No.
At the same time, there are other things that I really don't understand in this, and I'm thinking of the addition to the suppression rule. That if you're suppressed, you cannot move towards an enemy unit. And I understand the idea about it, but I don't really understand how you're supposed to play it. Like,
you can break it, as we discussed.
If you're surrounded, if the enemy has flying...
I thought about this, and I think that the way you solve it to keep, I think, the idea that they have for it is to kind of rewrite this as if you are suppressed and you make a move action, you can't end that move action any closer to an enemy unit than you were before you moved. I think that's how you solve it mechanics-wise.
Yeah, I don't know, it just feels weird because there are no limitations. Like if I fly my airplane across the board, so it's basically on your side of the table, and I still have a lot of my dudes close to my tables, it means that your suppressed unit cannot move towards my dudes, it cannot move towards your table edge because my airplane is there, it's an enemy unit, so you're basically locked down, you can't do anything.
Yeah, it is weird.
So. And you can position your aircrafts on either side and you use some artillery to bombard them. And then they are suppressed and they can't do anything, they can move anything. I think it breaks, you can break the game, and as you also pointed out, Magnus, what happens then? Okay, your aircraft is there. I surround your aircraft and suppress it. Does it crash? What happens?
It has to make a move action,
Yes,
but it can't move anywhere.
No. So, okay, it makes loops, perhaps, just hula hoops or something.
I understand the idea that the troops are scared and they don't want to advance towards the enemy, and that's fine. But there should be some kind of explanation or some kind of limitations or whatever, that you can always move towards your own table edge or something like. A little bit something like that.
But that also takes it more towards warfare. And at first, when I read it, I thought it was hilarious and I liked it. And I would like to play a game where your units have that limitation. But to me, it's not Dust 1947. Dust 1947 is a quick, slim, action-packed game.
Super aggressive action game, basically.
And this is a different game to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be an asshole and just reek down on people who enjoy this. And please play it this way. If you're having fun, you're not playing against me. So what's the fucking problem here? None, of course. So, but no, it's not Dust 1947.
So I guess at least we over here are going to continue playing with just the standard rules from the book.
Yeah, and like I said, this is for gridless, and we mostly play gridded, so it doesn't really affect us in any way either way. So, but like I said, for those players who asked for these rules, who want to use them, who think they're great, absolutely fine. It's great, wonderful that you have it. I'm happy for you, definitely. No problems there. Let's go over and talk a bit about tournaments, because we've had a few local tournaments. We have had one recently. We're going to have another one pretty soon. And kind of special rules-wise, or not rules-wise, but scenarios and kind of...
Yeah, you guys are going to a really nice tournament, which I wish I could prioritize and go to. And I think you're going to have a hell of a good time, because Mats and Ulf, the ones who seem to be preparing this, they seem to be doing a great tournament. The game board seems to be fantastic. They are doing it totally different.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The last days of summer tournament, and we don't really know exactly what we're getting into. we know that we are playing in teams, basically. So it is kind of two. It's 150 point armies, but it's not one player bringing 150 points. It's two players bringing 75 each. Yeah. Yes. And then four players kind of meeting each other, and
plus maybe faction bonus if you're playing a faction.
Yeah, and the faction bonuses are for each player. So one player could bring a mixed army with 75 points, and the other could bring a faction army with 87, I think it is.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And you get bigger mats. They have specially made terrain.
They have been making terrain like crazy. Did you see the photos?
Yes. They have made special mats. They have made special buildings.
Yeah, special scenarios.
Yes, and the scenarios I've read, and I had the privilege to discuss them a little bit with Mats when he needed to.
Yeah, this is going to be bonkers.
Yes, I think you will have a splendid time. I'm envious.
Yeah, but you should talk a bit about GDD8, the Gothenburg Days of Dust that happened recently. Which
you want us to be enemies again?
Yeah,
we're too much friends all of a sudden.
Yeah, of course. I didn't have the opportunity to go to this one.
No, of course. It was such a fun tournament for once. I don't know why. There's something I can't just put my finger on it, but something different with this tournament made it so much fun.
Like the fact that half of the players played Rangers.
There was some really nasty guy there who beat me early on in the tournament. I don't know.
So an asshole every time.
It's gonna be payback next time.
Oh yeah.
But it was kind of a thing, because we've been talking a lot about Rangers specifically. Like Soldier 2 units do not work in 1947.
Everyone is hampering about the Soldier 2, they are so bad.
So this tournament, it just happened to be a lot of allied players and a lot of them playing Ranger-based armies.
Yes.
So we've had
Four allies, 3 Ranger 2 armies.
Yeah, something like that. And we've had a couple of these a bit strange tournaments where suddenly a lot of people are thinking the exact same, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, I get this idea. I'm going to try this out.
Yeah. To me, it was just like I was fed up with everyone just ranking down on them. I'm going to say, well, okay, now I'm going to play them. Perhaps they are right, but I want to see are they as shitty as everyone seems to say. Of course, when you come with your Rangers 2, then of course everyone else has the Rangers 2 or has the crap army Luftwaffe. So there's no test. I'm not getting anything out of this tournament. Except I had 4 lovely games. I had a ton of fun. The guys that were there, they were great, as they almost every time are.
Yeah, and this was a bit different compared to our tournament before, because this time we kind of tried the Polish approach, so to say. We played on 3 matches, and we played 120 points, which was very interesting. And we saw, well, at least I did, saw quite a lot more of the slightly bigger things. I used a few things that I have never used before. Some walkers tried out, and had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, it's a great format, that 3 mats and 120 points. I think I hope that is our new standard. Even if I understand the slickness of going with 2 mats as well, then, because we perhaps need it for our...
It is a very nice format. So much fun to play. The only problem basically that I see is that it takes a bit longer. You need more time, so the tournament will take longer time. So it's going to be difficult if you have a lot of players. Both time-wise and actually, I mean, terrain-wise.
Space-wise.
Yeah. So,
no, but we don't have, after this LDS or LSD. No, it's LDS. Sorry, they weren't allowed to
think of the Mormons.
The LDS. Yeah. Well, they have made so much terrain now, so I guess that we can have really good, big 3-match tournaments. But I think it would be fun if we could just find out a good way so no one gets upset or hampered with, to arrange that people should perhaps somehow tell what armies they're coming with, because I think a lot of also people who came with the Rangers 2 perhaps didn't enjoy that they only faced Rangers 2. It would have been much more fun if we had 2 Rangers 2 players of these age, and they had a little more diverse opposition. Because I mean, that's why I didn't play the Germans, even if I liked to play the Germans in the beginning, actually, because I think some tournaments and some times when I played, there were 9 out of 10 played Germans, and it was like, fuck off, this is not interesting. No, because then I could play with myself. I mean, if I'm just facing the same thing. I like the diversity. It was wonderful to see all the allied players, but does anyone have a clue? How can you do this without people? Because if they have to announce it too soon,
I'm not going to promise anything. I will take a look at the website and see if I can fix something. Maybe when you sign up for an event, you could also possibly write down at least what block or faction you're playing, something like that. So at least get an idea what other people.
Because when we play, of course we play to win it, but we don't play. It doesn't we don't give that much. We play our tournaments to get games, and it's the only way we can perhaps get the family to make us prioritize that weekend to go and play we have a tournament. We have to. It's not like. Well,
I agree. So, I mean, you go there to. You don't go there to lose the games you play.
No,
you play to win them, but it's not. It's not the most important thing.
Definitely not, because we seldom also see the OP lists. So I mean, it's very seldom anyone you see that they have tried to make a list. I mean, all 8 armies were vanilla.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy won it. He played with Winter Child. And of course, that's a good model, but he had a very vanilla SSU army. That was nothing special.
Well, he was only facing Rangers, so...
Yeah, well, he was in at least 2 games he could have lost. So, and if he loses one of those, he doesn't win it. So, it's a dice game. I mean, so, and when we play for fun, even though we have tournaments. That's what I'm saying. So it should be nice to find some way to, because if I knew, of course, I wanted to play that Ranger 2 army, but if I had known that 3 others would have played it, I would have just switched around, perhaps even broke my word and played SSU just to get, because it would have been fun forever. I mean, when Maurits and I played, we had a great game, but of course it got even better because I beat him quite easily. No, but I'm not going to be that bad of a person. But no, we had a great game, but we were playing each other more or less. We had a slight variation in our armies, but it was like playing yourself, and that.
Yeah, mirror matches tend to be not as interesting, basically. So, but then again, this was a smaller tournament, only 8 people this time. So when there's more player, you're probably gonna have more diversity, and probably not gonna be. You could be facing mirror matches, but for the most part, you probably will not. So. But we'll have to see. We've started doing some talk about next year, planning.
Yeah.
Small plans for the Dust Nordic next year, and we're going to do a lot more of that planning later on. So we'll see about that.
Yeah. And I think you could. At least what that GDD 8 showed us was that Rangers aren't that bad, actually. I think at least, or at least I am not. Okay, I usually have that attitude. My armies are the best and I am invincible. It's partly for fun, but also what I faced, it wasn't any great armies, and I would have loved to see my army face something more interesting on the battlefield. But the way it handled, I think it could have handled a lot of other stuff as well. I think it would have fared fairly well against other types of armies. I would have loved to see. I was very sad actually afterwards, Johannes, that you weren't there, because I would have loved to see your Endak, which is so great when you know how to play it. Of course, that wouldn't be totally fair against the Rangers because you have so much experience with the Endak, and I haven't played any Ranger 2, so I would probably get beaten quite. Perhaps even severely, but I would have loved to see them against them, because I lost against the Russian, but it was.
But you would have learned a lot from that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one thing that I do think matters in this case, specific case, is that we played bigger game, both points wise and size wise. I mean, 3 game mats. Because that plays, at least in my mind, it plays a little bit into the Rangers, because they have slightly longer ranges and they become a bit more flexible. Basically, an army like faction Endak army, it can be very quickly, it comes up close and personal and uses their short range weapons. When you play on bigger, like 3 mats,
they struggle.
They can't do that. At least not as quickly. It will take them like 1 extra activation. They can't be there on turn 1 or maybe even turn 2. You can kind of hold off a little bit, and that plays into some armies better. So I would like to play this format more to see how this plays out, because it definitely matters. It definitely changes a few things.
And even though I don't like the unlimited weapon lines on the airplanes, I still had a lot of fun with my airplane, because it was the first time I played with an allied airplane for decades, I think. But I used the Thunder, and it was nice. Also, of course, I used it in combination with Sergeant Victory, so I almost had two flyers, and then it was only Soldier 2.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Sergeant Victory.
Yes, and he's bringing the Thunder
and the plane.
No, but that's why I'm looking forward to our new stat cards that I hope will be coming soon, our own, because I have, like, as you guys know, a Hurricane and a Spitfire and a lot of stuff, and a P-47, even though they will be crappy planes, some of them in the Dust universe. Just playing 4 Allied airplanes in one tournament. Oh yes, that would be so nice. I could just...
Yeah, just, I mean, conjure up some stats for them and we'll have some discussions.
Except for the fact that the tournament rules say you can only use 3.
Yeah, well, okay. Then.
We could probably maybe make an exception.
Yeah, well, and the Spitfire is actually made as a scenery thing, because it's in the moment it's taken apart. You see the engine and stuff. It's more like it's on the tarmac, just ready to be serviced. So, but Thunder, P-47, and a Hurricane. It would just be nice.
Yeah.
If you when you buy the Hexi, you want different targets.
Yeah, of course.
Multiple targets. So that's
not
why
only choppers
I need the
to shoot
cards.
Yeah.
I bring the targets.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yes, I'm just doing this for you.
Yes,
this is just for you.
All right, we have another tournament coming up. Not us, the Vikings, but rather the German players.
Yeah.
There's going to be a tournament in November, the 18th and 19th of November in Aschaffenburg. That's close to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And are you planning on going?
Yes, well, I think it is quite a few people that are actually interested, at least. I won't promise anything. Perhaps none of us Swedes show up, but when you hear what's in the grapevine, it sounds like it's perhaps 6 persons who might just want to go. We have a little bit different wishes on how to travel, though. I know that we are probably have 6 different ways we want to travel. Me being, as usual, the most obstinate person and the most troublesome one. But it seems like we might get a car to go to Germany, and that would have been great, I think, just to because I would really like to see how they play it, and with their version of it, because they have their own, they ban superheroes and stuff like that.
Yes,
so they do stuff differently.
Sounds interesting, and I would love to go, but again, this happens on a bad time for me, so I will not be able to go there.
Are your wife pregnant? No, sorry.
Well, actually, yes.
Yeah!
Whoa!
I thought as much. Congratulations, man.
Oh, thanks.
Great. A long time coming, but finally, no. Great. So, new gamers are coming along.
Oh,
yes. Most beautiful news this week.
Absolutely.
Have you discussed the stats? Your wife's?
Started thinking about it.
Yes. Yeah, start working on the FAQ and the errata straight away. Yeah, so that's good to have.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with that, I think that's everything for this episode. So I would like to thank all our listeners for staying with us for this long episode. Thank you for listening, and we will hope to see and hear from you all soon, especially you players in Germany then.
Yeah.
So until next time, we will see you on the battlefield. All music used in this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. If you want to get in contact with me and this podcast, you can email dustwarjournals@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at dustwarjournals.